The Idaho Supreme Court last week upheld the state's parental choice tax credit program, clearing the way for $50 million in tax credits to roll out to Idaho families this spring. Our Aspen Shumpert joins us live now in studio. Aspen, I know you spoke to both sides about what this ruling means and really what comes next.
Abby, while the program got the green light to move forward, the question now is whether Idaho's budget crisis could put it back in the spotlight.
This was the main shot, and it missed.
The Idaho Supreme Court ruled last week that the state's parental choice tax credit program does not violate the state's constitution.
I think this is a pretty definitive decision.
The program sets aside $50 million in public funds annually for tax credits that Idaho families can use on private school expenses, including tuition. In the court's opinion, the justices noted that the challengers' claims of harm were hypothetical and speculative, meaning they couldn't prove the tax credit program would actually hurt public schools.
This decision illustrates why there just aren't very many good arguments, or really any good arguments, legal arguments against school choice.
Tom Fisher is the litigation director at EdChoice, a national advocacy group for school choice. He hopes Idaho's ruling can be an example for other states facing the same legal battle.
Public schools are terrific for many families, and they do a great job for many families. But for others, there is a need to do something different to make sure that every child has a chance at a high-quality education that's appropriate for them.
But as Idaho faces a projected $40 million budget deficit this year and a projected $500 million for fiscal year 2027, some wonder whether this could end up back in court if the budget for public schools gets touched to help bridge the state's funding gap.
I don't think the evidence will ever bear that out.
The program is free to go ahead.
Stephanie Witt is a public service professor at Boise State.
We are seeing a legislature that appears really committed to this idea, even with the $50 million plus price tag in a season where we're making cuts in other state agencies.
She says it's hard to argue the credits specifically are taking from public schools when other major agencies draw from the same pot, the state's general fund.
I don't know how you make that argument exactly, because you have all the slices of the pie that take a lot of money, right? Corrections has a slice, Medicaid has a big slice, transportation.
A question the state has faced several times before, including a 2005 Idaho Supreme Court ruling that the state was not fulfilling its duty.
We've never had a conclusive end to that discussion.
But Fisher says he's not worried about a future legal challenge based on real-world budget harm.
The argument about the budget for public schools in Idaho is just that. It's about the budget for public schools. And if the legislature somehow doesn't do what it's supposed to do in that regard, that's a separate question.
More than 5,000 applications have already been filed with the state's tax commission for the program. The application period remains open until March 15th, and tax credits are set to roll out in April. Now, Abby, one of the justices noted that while the speculation on harm right now is what it appears to be, they could be re-examining that in the future once the program's impacts can be properly measured.
All right, thank you, Aspen. Definitely something that we'll continue to follow.
Yeah.